There is four questions that I want you to ask yourself throughout the duration of this video. And that first one being, what is it that makes you feel like a nobody? I can relate to the idea of feeling like a nobody. That's kind of why I'm making this video. I'll go more into depth about how I felt like that, why I felt like that later. But I want to first describe, or rather define, what this term nobody means. For the sake of this video, being a nobody means having no depth. When somebody asks you, what do you like doing? You go, I don't know, or video games. Like you have no like real description. Like if somebody had like you as a YouTube video, right? Levi Ernest, and the description was just likes video games. No character depth. You never see any growth. You never see any change in yourself. You have no struggles, or rather, no real struggles, no struggles that you put yourself through or that kind of just are on you. Being a nobody also just means like you have no goals, right? Think of this, right? I'll kind of translate this into another term. Being a nobody can be seen as being a side character in a TV show, right? It's kind of a cringe thing. I hear a lot of people say I'm the main character. That's stupid, but I think it's a good analogy, right? So there's main characters, which are somebodies in this instance, and nobodies, which are the side characters, right? What differentiates them, right? What's the difference between these two groups? Let me pull up a show that I like. Naruto, for instance. What differentiates him from the random shinobis in that show, right? What does he have that differentiates him? He has a man goal. He wants to be the Hokage. You see him get stronger. You see him chase that goal. You see him struggle to get that goal. He has growth. He has depth. He has a goal working towards. But the random ninja, you don't know his name. You don't know what he does, what he likes doing. You don't see him grow. You just see him get beat up, right? That's the end of his story. So that's what it is to be a nobody. It's to have no story. It's to have no depth. Another example, Luffy, right? He wants to be the king of the pirates. You see him get his crew together. You see him get stronger. You see him push back against like the Marines and stuff like that, the trials, the struggles in his world, right? You see him push against that. You see him fall. You see him succeed. You see him get closer to his goal. But you just see some random dude like just some random Marine, right? He has no goals that we know of. He has no character growth. He's just a background character. That's what it means to be a nobody. It means to be a side character, it means to be a background character. If you feel like a nobody, or in our analogy, a side character, that sounds so like cringe to say that, but I'm just gonna keep going, right? If you feel like a side character, what you lack is depth. You lack growth. You lack real struggles that you're going towards a goal. You have to figure it out how to get past these things. You lack all that. You're boring, pretty much, is what I'm trying to say. So the second question I want to ask you is, why do you want to become a somebody? Why do you want to become a main character? It feels so weird to say it every time. My bad. But in this instance, I'll give you kind of what I said earlier. How I was going to tell you more about why I felt like a nobody. I felt like a nobody or I wanted to become somebody because I could feel and I was uncomfortable with the fact that I was boring. That I had no depth. I had no description under my name. And I can't answer the question for you. So, like I said, you have to answer the question for yourself. Why is it that you want to become a somebody? Why is it that you want to have depth? Um, I guess it's a pretty obvious answer because not having depth is boring. It sucks. But just answer that for yourself because it might be an obvious answer, but to have it in your mind and to be aware of the answer, it's kind of like a motivational thing. It can help you when you know you're failing at something and you think back to this is why I want to become somebody. So it's a very obvious question that you probably already know the answer to, but I just want you to ask yourself again so that way you have it in your mind and it's present with you. Question number 3, which isn't as self-reflective, it's more of just I want you to think about this, is what does it mean to become someone? In my definition that we're using in this video, becoming somebody can be thought of as creating a character story. Becoming someone means becoming someone, it sounds redundant, that is unique, either because of the knowledge they have, the skills that they have, the interests or the hobbies, or any of those type of things. Someone, a, a someone is someone who naturally draws attention, not because they are like, yo, everybody look over here, but it's just because they're that good, that they just naturally draw that attention because of who they are. So for the fourth question and what you came here for, how do I become a somebody? Becoming a somebody, and like we already kind of got the answer in question 3, is about building those hobbies, about building those interests, those skills, that knowledge. Becoming a someone means building out your story, right? Going a certain path, having goals, having struggles that you get past. Like, kind of, I know it sounds dumb, but think of like how, like Naruto, right? His story is that everybody like despised him, right? Spoiler alert, I guess it's like a 10-year-old, 15-year-old show. but it's probably even older than that. I'm probably younger than Naruto. But anyways, let's imagine he's despised by everybody, right? That's his struggle. But despite that fact, he pushes against that, I guess, that societal norm that everybody has that, oh, he's just this demon beast, right? And he becomes the Hokage, right? He achieves his goal through, you can see him grow and you can see him. I already talked about this, right? That is kind of what you can kind of base it off of, right? Becoming as someone is having that goal, getting that goal while having struggles, you know, being that unique person. And because you are that unique person, you draw attention, right? And being as somebody isn't about having the clout or about the followers or about the subscribers or whatever. That's not what I mean when I say as somebody. You, like, for instance, when I was talking about the One Piece Marines, right? Just because we don't know that Marine doesn't mean they're a nobody. But because it's a book, obviously there's no written story for that person. So they are nobody. But in real life, you can be a somebody without people knowing it, you know? So don't get the wrong idea that it's like I need 5 million followers right now. You don't need that. You just need to be unique. You need to be someone who is of value and that has a story, right? And then people, like, once they get to know you, they'll be like, oh, this dude is for real somebody, right? Not just like some random robot that likes video games and that's his whole personality. Some examples, like for me, what I do is I do this YouTube stuff. Not everybody makes YouTube videos like but on this topic and stuff like this. I like video editing. I like going to the gym, right? The gym's pretty a basic self-improvement thing, but it still adds character depth. You know, I want to learn an instrument or two. That's something you could do to build depth, build character. Find find a goal, find something that you love doing, and pursue that to the maximum, right? And you'll pretty much have a story written out for you. Because you're obviously gonna have trials, you're gonna have tribulations, you know, the things that you struggle with. You're gonna have things that you can't get over for a bit, and then you finally succeed. You know, that's how you become a someone. Okay. Hope you got that. That's all I got. If you'd like to learn how to be saved, I have a video over here. If you'd like to learn how to start self improvement, I have a video over here. Thank you for watching this far, and praise God.